fine, no worries. Testing. Does that work? We good? All right. Thank you for everybody that have been able to attend our co-hosted event. I'm Michelle Nauertz. I'm a client solution director with Brillect. We are a interim consulting firm focused on finance, accounting, HR, and project management resources, providing solutions for our clients that need just quick assistance, 4 to 6 month type projects. We're 3.5 years into the market. We are women owned and operated, which is very exciting. The culture within Brillect is amazing. Our top value is taking care of people, and I can't think of a better way to represent taking care of people than to give back to our communities. Corey and I met standing in line for food at a networking event because we do a lot of networking events. And we just really hit it off, and I thought it'd be amazing to have an opportunity to co-host this event. And it has been a great partnership. So I appreciate you, Corey, and all that you do and have done, and the organization as a whole. So, and a quick thank you to our panelists ahead of time. Hand it off to you.
Thanks, Michelle. I'm Corey Pauls. I'm with Mytech Partners. Mytech is a technology company, so we help companies that don't have their own internal IT staff, and we do everything from strategic planning to helping you define strategies for security for Microsoft 365, whether that be productivity, communication, and collaboration. So, and then help desk support too. So, kind of the whole bit. Really excited that people are here today. One of the things that I've loved about Mytech in the 12 years that I've been with them is that they have a focus on the community and how we can be just a good member of the community and give back. And so that was part of what led us to this event as well. Want to do a quick shout out. First Bank and Trust donated the food for this event. And then Cookie Cart is a client that we've worked with for 20 years. Where we've that entire time we've given them pro bono IT services. So we did purchase the cookies today to support that organization. And when we opened the cookies and saw them, like, these are the cutest cookies ever. So these are made by youth, so they're not perfect, but it's great because it teaches job skills to at-risk youth. So in that vein, we wanted to have this event to just share some ideas on how other people can get involved and the benefits of doing so. So thank you all for coming.
And as an extra perk, for everybody that has done Mytech, the numbers, Mytech and Brillect will be donating to the nonprofit causes of those that are speaking on the panel, because instead of doing swag, why not just do what we're talking about and put our money where our mouth is. So, all right, that's it from us. So I will hand it off to you.
All right. And so the microphones, by the way, because we are broadcasting this live on LinkedIn, so it's not for the speakers in the room, as you might hear. So as questions get asked, we'll pass the mic around with the panelists, but we'll either repeat the question or we might pass it around. I'm not sure. We'll see how that goes. But my name is Nate. I'm part of Mytech. I work with Corey. I've had the privilege of working with Corey for a long time. And our mission is to grow, help, and make a difference. And we believe that part of a thriving community, in order for us to thrive, the community in which we live and operate needs to thrive as well. And so, our organization, hopefully we're skilled at providing IT services and support, but we're not necessarily great skills at doing all the nonprofit work that one of the folks do and the community does. So if we can do our part by helping them and they can serve more people, then that's a big part of why we do what we do. So I want to go down and introduce the panel. Start with Coralyn. Just take a brief introduction of yourselves and what brought you here today. And then we've got some questions planned, and I'll throw some unplanned ones at you, but we've had some conversations, so hopefully you'll be fully prepped to answer them. But Coralyn, please introduce yourself and tell us about your history.
My name is Coralyn Musser. I am the Director of Outreach and Engagement at MEI, which we are a 50-year-old company, and we manufacture custom elevator solutions. And so to define that it's vertical transportation, not grain elevators, or the other lifting people up was the other thing that I had been talking about. But we have two sides of our business. We have a custom manufacturing plant in Mankato, Minnesota, where we house about 140 employees. And then we also have service branches all over the Midwest, where we have fleets of elevator mechanics, project managers, sales teams that do elevator service, maintenance, and repair all over. I also founded Insight to Engage, which is an online website that helps companies do what we do and help making engagement opportunities easy and simple to get your employees engaged and moving in generous and impactful ways. And then also for fun, I do a podcast with a couple of my girlfriends on leadership, women's leadership. So that's a little nice, fun hobby.
And how, real quick, because I think it does matter, how large is your the total elevator solutions? What's the size of the organization?
We have 322 employees as of yesterday.
All right, very good.
Yes.
The reason why I asked that is because it's pretty impactful to have an organization of that size have a dedicated person to the corporate philanthropy and volunteerism. I don't usually see that, so commend you and your team for doing that with the size organization we are. So thank you.
Awesome.
Alexie, how about you?
Hello, I'm Alexie Castrellon. I am with Oasis for Youth. We focus specifically in the Edina, Bloomington, and Richfield areas, focusing on youth ages 16 to 24. With that, we have 4 main programs. We have our drop-in site, which helps. It's kind of really a community spot for a lot of our young people to show up in. We have comfy spots for them to hang out in, an Xbox, TV, but then there's also a lot of basic needs that can be met there. We have a clothing closet, we have showers, we have the restroom. We also have case managers on site to connect them to resources. So that's kind of our main hub. We also have our outreach team, and they are actually out in all the high schools in this area. As well as just kind of being where young people are. That can be libraries, that can be the parks, anywhere that is next for the young people. As well as we have our housing team, and they focus in on supporting young people and getting them into housing and making sure that they're able to stay in that housing as well. And then I run our employment program. And that's what brings me here today. I actually have an office on site at Mall of America, and we support those young team members there. We have like food, we have uniform needs that can be met. We also have, honestly, it's just a lot of job coaching. It's a lot of one-on-one conversations. It's a lot of taking small moments and hopefully leading to bigger impacts. A lot of our young people that are coming to us, they don't have a strong role model in their life. A lot of the people that are coming to us just need somebody that is willing to listen to them, that treats them like they have their own voice. And, kind of a side fact about me too is I also coach high school speech. And so I've always been very passionate about helping young people find their voice, building that confidence to be whoever they are and whoever they want to be, because I know that the people that are going to leave an impact in this world are going to be them. Quite honestly. So that's a bit about me.
Awesome. Well, I've got more questions to come later, but Darrell, let's hear about yourself.
The reason that I'm here is because Michelle asked me to come here.
Yeah.
Great person. She's a very common connection and a wonderful person. And she was a board member for our organization. And my name's Darrell Thompson. I'm the president of Boulder Options, a youth mentoring program. Started here in Minneapolis. We work with 10 to 14-year-old youth. Our goal is to match them up with a mentor, introduce them to a healthy lifestyle through bombarding them with as many healthy activities as possible. So we run, we bike, we tutor, we do homework, we go to the Boundary Waters. We have just a couple young men going to Washington, D.C. this week to represent us and some other youth programs. And we work in Minneapolis in kind of the first ring suburbs, St. Paul, and we have an office in Rochester as well. And we've been around for 31 years, and I've been with Boulder Options for 29 of those years. So it's a blessing to be able to work for the organization. And like I tell the youth, and it was kind of a joke early when I was at the graduation speaking, I said, I want one of you guys to be doing my job. Mm-hmm. Now I really do want one of them to be doing my job. Yes. And so we need you guys to be, the next marketing person here, the next chief operating officer, and hopefully the next president as well. And I believe we're trending that direction.
So since you have the mic, I'm going to take one of the questions that we talked about and augment it a little bit, but an organization that has the sustainability that you've been around for as long as you have and the success that you're engaging with the youth, how important are partners in the for-profit community to help with your mission and your cause?
Partners are really important. Just for even they think about partners, we think about board members. And so like Michelle, we've always just kind of stayed in touch. Even if it's something as simple as, coming to play in our golf tournament or being involved in this event or a speech he had me do a few years ago. So partners are a huge deal. And then thinking about companies and corporations as partners, even a bigger deal because they have more of a footprint. And for us to be inside Rochester, the Mayo Clinic has been really good to us. General Mills has been really good to us. Land Lakes, Cambria, we have a lot of companies that once you're inside, you get hopefully funding and sponsorship, but you also have the opportunity to have mentors and volunteers and board members. And the other piece for us, probably the last 15 years, is it's a way to keep people here. Sometimes if someone comes, Minnesota's not quite as sticky if you're not here. Like, so I grew up in Rochester. So I'm like, oh, this guy in Rochester, these are my homeboys, and we're going to be here. But if you just come here from like Chicago or from Texas or something, I say, oh, it's getting
cold.
Yeah, it's going to get colder. This is
getting dark. It's like 5 o'clock. It's dark.
Yeah. So all that stuff is happening, and you want to make ourselves stickier. And then we find that once people get connected in the community, then they're going to stay. They're going to get involved. They might meet somebody else that they can. Our program, our mentors are typically pre-kids or post-kids. So a lot of times we've had people in our organization that met someone that they care about. We even have one, I call them the first family in Boulder Options, because they met when they were mentors. They got married, and now they're like kind of every time I come and say, oh, it's the first family. Yeah. So, but that's how it works.
So, and I'm going to skip around a little bit, just, so to keep me with you, Darrell, because I'm going to, as we pass it along here, because I think one of the challenges, and I'm going to, by the way, I'm going to ask all of you these questions. So planting the seeds. So forgive me, Darrell, for using you first. But I think one of the challenges that even organizations that may be looking for a way to engage or to support or help on the for-profit side, can you elaborate a little bit on, like, when you talk about the partnerships that you did with Mayo and Land Lakes and General Mills, what does that look like? And what are the things that might help, if they're interested, that would be considered a partnership or would be beneficial to your organization? And even if it's not your organization, what have you found that, like, what can they do to take a step towards the community and engage the community from your perspective?
I mean, open the door. I mean, number one is like for them to say, hey, you know what if you guys come in here and we do a lunch and learn anything from someone saying, I'd like to be a board member, I'd like to be a volunteer, I'd like to be a mentor inside your organization to help their expertise. We met that gentleman, I think it's Mark, he's in accounting, right? So I'm not an accountant, but when we need someone on the finance committee, so you need to have all these different pieces. We need a governance committee, we need a development committee, people that can raise money and talk to people and kind of have fun. And then you obviously you need volunteers. So there's a role for everyone, but for us to have that entree inside of a company or an organization to be, either through the employee resource group or through whatever's going on inside there, to just give us that opportunity to talk what we do and see if it kind of, gives someone that spark to want to be involved with our organization.
Yeah, that's great. I'll pass over to Alexie, but I got a comment on it. So when I remember you talked about the raising funds, and I remember when I was talking to Alexie, I was on the board of Cookie Cart actually for 7 years, and I got on the fund development committee, and I thought it was the fun development committee, not the fund development committee. So it was both. I mean, we had some fun too, but I'll tell you, being on the board, to your comment of like that's a way people can get involved, is that I learned more than I ever thought I was going to learn by getting to that level with an organization. So yeah, if that's something you're passionate about, that could be one of the ways in which you open the door, especially individually, right? There's different ways when your corporation might be able to get engaged, but you as an individual don't need to sign off from your corporation to maybe be on a board or participate. So very good. Alexie, to you. So talk about, you have a different partnership because you're on site at the Mall of America. Tell this backstory a little bit of that, because I think it's interesting, but also, how does that partnership work relative to engaging and keeping your organization going?
Yeah, so we really are the first of our kind in the nation. To be frank, it was seeing a need with the young people that worked for Mall of America. The mall noticed that there was a very high turnover in the age range that we specifically support. Looking at trying to create longevity with them and noting the reasons that they were quitting. A lot of team members were quitting because it was hard getting into work. The first couple of weeks were just really tough because they still just didn't have quite the money to make it happen. They didn't have what it took to get the necessary uniform pieces. Looking at getting different shoes, different pants, the food that it takes to be there, to work there, to fuel yourself. It costs a lot of money to eat from the food court every day. I tend to make my own meals as well. But they started to see and notice, why are people leaving? And so then they decided to look into their community. They were able to find us. And they thought to partner with us, since our focus was that age range that they were looking at bringing the supports that we have at our drop-in on site for their team members. So that can look like us covering that gap in transportation. We actually will provide bus cards and bus tokens for team members to make sure that they can get there. So the cost of getting there is much lower barrier. We provide them any uniform pieces that they may need. We also have that extra time to spend with them and just talk to them about the role, the expectations, what it looks like to have healthy workplace relationships. Because I think, especially in the environment that we're living in nowadays, so many of those relationships can feel blurred. People can feel taken advantage of. People can feel like they don't know what is actually appropriate to be asked of them in the workplace. And also to just navigate, what is it like to have a job for the first time and how overwhelming that can feel. I always clearly remember my first job. I was 17. I worked for Mall of America. I worked in the theaters up there, and they were like noting all the things I needed to have with me. I needed to have non-skid closed-toed shoes. I needed black work pants, and I never really had a need for any of those specific moments. And if I hadn't been for like my mom being there and supporting me and helping me through those pieces, which as my mom has done so I want to give a shout out to my mom. My mom is amazing. She worked so hard for me, and I just want to give her that shout out right now because she went through a lot. I am also a product of services and nonprofits that have worked in the communities that they support. My mom, was with WIC. I was a Boys and Girls Club kid, and all these supports can make the things that we didn't think was possible. So I just want to give a shout out there as well. But coming back to this, just noting a lot of our young people, they don't have that kind of support. They don't kind of have a very present support in their life. And so to be able to be that trusted adult in their life, that is actually what changes people. That is actually what makes them believe that they have something that they can look forward to. It's what makes them feel like they have a value in this world. And so I've kind of rambled, haven't
No,
I?
it's okay. Yeah. So,
Uh,
so I
but
think
going back to that partnership,
Yeah,
it
that's what I
was
was gonna go
seeing
for.
that
Yeah, thank you.
need. It was noting that there was that gap. And so then we've worked with them closely still. I meet with the HR team every month, actually. We discuss trends. We discuss what's happening. We discuss any concerns. We discuss how can we keep improving this partnership. We discuss how much more can they give? How much more can we give? Because all of us are on the same page about wanting to take care of this team, of wanting to make the workplace there a safe environment where everyone wants to work there as long as possible. Because obviously we all have the goals of, well, not all of us, but every for-profit has their goals of, making their money. That's fair. That's real. But it's creating that longevity. It's creating that buy-in from people. That's what really sets apart any other business from the other ones.
So I love the way you described it. You said that your organization is kind of like one of the benefits that is just part of the employment package, so to speak, for anyone in youth that works at the Mall of America. So how does that how might people I don't know, work with your organization or get involved or connect you with people that could, like part of this is learning from each other, but also connecting.
Yeah.
So are there any connections or things like that you're looking for? How could people potentially get involved with your organization?
Definitely. It's really as much or as little as you want to work with us. And for any organization, I think it really applies. It's about, what are you wanting to give? What does the organization need? It can be as as much as running a clothing drive or something. Winter's coming up, so automatically my brain is going towards hats, gloves, heat warmers, sleeping bags, all those pieces, because I work with a lot of youth that are also at risk or homeless in that respect. But also some of my youth are housed as well, but that doesn't make the situation any less hard. And so with that piece, so it's looking at that, it's looking at volunteering, spending time in our space, there's always going to be that financial ask, of course,
Mhm.
but it's also looking like helping us set up a party for young people that we might be hosting. And so coming in with decorations, putting things together, um, all those pieces. But then it could also be look like being on a board, like you noted before. Being on a board can be so much fun and provide so much for you, and you learn so much about what the organization provides and what that looks like. So there are a lot of different routes that people can take.
All right. Well, we're going to come back to some other questions, but
Mhm.
for now, let's pass it on. So, Coralyn, I'd like to, you're in a unique position. There's not many folks that I know of that are in a dedicated position of corporate philanthropy and volunteerism. But you also kind of uh, created the position through collaboration. So, can you talk a little bit about that and like what some of the problems you were trying to solve in organizationally for stepping into this role?
Sure. So I came into this role a little uniquely. I had worked for MEI as a sales associate, so I was actively selling elevators. And personally, I had a big passion that I found out kind of fairly quickly on that mirrored a lot of what our CEO and our founder mirrored. That we had similar passions and wanting to help and give back to the community in different ways. And so I was on the small committee, a little bit of a side hustle where we were trying to bring in more volunteering, more engagement into our company. And at some point, our CEO comes into our company and comes into our group, and he looks at us and he says, "I like what we're doing. What if we could ramp up what we're doing and really double down?" Two of our core values of our company are compassion and generosity. And he looked at us and he said, "What if we could really build compassion and generosity into the core of our company culture?" He looks around the room and he looks at us and he says, "What if we could just get out there and do some good and just see what happens?" And so we all were like, "Okay, all right, I think we could do this." And so kind of where he was going with this is that what we had been doing corporately is probably very similar to many companies, is that we had a list of nonprofit organizations that we support, send them funding. They would send us impact reports and what they're doing. We'd volunteer with them occasionally, for a couple hours here and there. And all of that's good. Like, let's not stop doing that, right? But what he was suggesting is that him personally, he had been to developing countries where he's literally tapping wells where people have never had clean water to drink, or he's feeding children that are starving, building houses for people that don't have houses, and when you engage in those activities, even those big activities, even small activities, it changes you in your core. And what he had thought is that how can we reinvest some of the dollars that we give to these organizations and invest it back into our employees so then they can have those same experiences. And so instead of us getting our impact reports from the companies and the organizations, that it could be our employees that go out and help, see the needs for themselves, come back and report to all of their fellow employees like, "Hey, I just went out there, I did this thing, I helped, these families are impacted," and we get to share those experiences and invest in our own employees with those dollars. And so that was 5 years ago. So we do a lot of volunteering, and sometimes I get emails from people like, "Do you guys even do any work?" And the answer is yes. We do a lot of work. We're very busy. We're a profitable company, and we just choose to reinvest in this way to give back to our community in some pretty big ways. One of our flagship opportunities is that we have what's called our insight trips, and so we take small groups of people a couple times a year, and we go out and volunteer for a week, and it's all company paid. Our employees don't have to take vacation, and we go out and serve in the community. And so I get this look from some people like, "Your company pays for this?" And the answer is yes, they do. And, and really at the bottom line is that it's no different than any other company trip. The major expenses is lodging, rental cars, flights sometimes. But the impact that our company has in our employees to volunteer and engage in this way is absolutely remarkable.
Can you elaborate on that part in particular? Like, I think, I think, in fact, most business owners that I've had the privilege opportunity to meet, like they almost all feel like they an obligation or a desire to do good and give back. But sometimes I think they struggle with either how to do it, or what can I really do, or even like what's the tangible, you've kind of said it, but I want you to say more overtly if you can. Like, what are some of the outcomes that you've seen or some of the impacts you've seen on your team relative to in the last 5 years of in doing these engagements more intentionally?
Yeah. And really, our marching orders, right? We're just, we want to get out there and do some good, right? And that was it simplistically. But what we found is that there's so many other company benefits that help our company and our culture just do better and do greater things. You know, really neat story is that we had sent out a group to help in this area of the Appalachian Mountains, like just high poverty, high underemployment, low income. And we sent a team out of 6 people. What they had gotten assigned is to build a deck for a house. Well, so on this team are 2 guys from our plant, a project manager, an engineer, and a sales associate, right? It's just like a hodgepodge of people. They get out there, and I kid you not, the deck that they were supposed to build in a week, they got done in a day. So the project man or the general crew leader is like, okay, well, we've got another house. They go to a second house. They build that deck in a day. And if I could show you pictures of these decks that they built, so they go into the third day. The other one was the last deck was a three like switchback deck that actually took them 2 days. So they show up for this week to do one deck. They knock out 3 decks, and these people that are living in this house couldn't get out of their house. They had mobility issues for one thing or another, but they just got back. But okay, we did good. But you think of it as a team building exercise. They've got to figure out project management, job delegation, who's going to do what, you know, how are we going to do these things? There's girls, there's guys on the teams. Some like myself, like I don't know how to bend siding. I can now. So if any of you guys need any help, see me later. But I don't know how to do any things. But it's all it's like team building and engagement on steroids, right? And it's really an opportunity to do this. And I feel like the impact that our teams have had, so that happens. It's employee engagement, and you talk about the people come back from these trips. They're like, the best part about these trips are the friendships that we build. Yeah. Which I feel like is a little ironic because a lot of our teammates have worked together for years, but like now they're building new friends, you know. But I think that there's the piece that helps us as a company is that we're highly engineered, highly collaborative. And when our teams are trying to work together and do things, there's a level of trust and commitment that happens. And that gets built on these trips in a way that you just can't manufacture when you're just working day to day. And I talk to you for a couple minutes here, I talk to you for a few minutes here and there. These trips are a way to triple down on that engagement experience. And our employees are so much better and so much more productive and connected because they get this. And that wasn't the purpose, right? The purpose was just to get out there and help. And we've had all these other experiences where it's really remarkable.
So you had a phrase in your organization, you said you can either dip your toes in or you can do a cannonball. So I don't know, talk about that a little quick before we pass it back to Alexie.
Yeah, I was just, we were talking about, a lot of companies, they do a lot of different things. And he was asking like, well, how do you do all these things? And I just think there's a lot of ways that we can get involved. And I think that there's companies that volunteer we have a team of people right now that are volunteering at our local food shelf. They're there for 2 hours and they're helping with Thanksgiving meals. And that's great. And we need people to do that. We can't all get away for a week or two, but we can invest in these small ways, which is the dip your toe in the water. But if you would take a step of faith and trust the process and trust and really double down and get involved, and you don't need to get involved with all of the organizations, but really dive in and see, these are the kids that they're mentoring. This is the impact that they're having. Your employees can be changed in a way that you cannot manufacture. And it just is such a fantastic thing. So investing in this way is a full cannonball to the nonprofit world. And it's really fun.
Yeah. I total unintended consequence of team building. I mean, organizations pay thousands and thousands of dollars for figuring out how to do team building, team health exercises, hire consultants, spend days, and all you got to do is volunteer.
Yep.
Right. And
you don't have to get in a harness. Right? You don't have to do a trust fall. You don't have to share your feelings.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Or you can do a trust fall.
Yeah, but
right?
If they get you. Yeah, you got to trust them first.
Right.
All right. Very good. Thank you for your insight. So, Alexie, I want to go back to something.
Can I also quick note here too?
Please.
Like, I think what's really beautiful about that is it's really at the core of it, and at the core of what we all are here in this space to do. It's building community. Like, it is making everyone see the value and doing good in your space. So I just think that's really beautiful.
I love what you said about that too, is because I think, and it goes back to one of the things you mentioned about some of the job skills and the like the first job. What is it like to have a first job, and how do you navigate some of these things, and like dealing with conflict or authority? Sometimes families and or schools don't always teach you those skills, right? And I think one of the things as either nonprofits, but I also believe as for-profits, even what you were saying, Coralyn, is that I think if we have the opportunity to potentially help people with these other life skills that are beyond just the job, right? You expose them to the impact you can have on yourself, let alone the impact you have on the community by volunteering and help foster that. It's I don't know. I do believe, like, sometimes as leaders in organizations, we get exposed to going to conferences and panels and you hear speakers and like keynotes, and you as leaders get exposed to this stuff, but the rest of your team doesn't oftentimes. And so how do you bring that back in ways in which they can impact them? And I don't know, it's work and you have to be intentional about it. But I think those are some of the, I don't know, profit isn't a bad word, especially when I think about the for-profit world, because you have to be profitable to be able to invest in things like that and be intentional about things like that. So anyway, it's just more of a trivia thing than anything, but those are a couple comments that you both made. I don't know, it's impactful for us, and we're even struggling sometimes to try and how can we have a bigger impact to our team on these other life type skills. So I love those things. So, but Alexie, I want to go back to a comment you made about, you said something that was the learning or the impact is in the little engagements. I'm probably paraphrasing that incorrectly, but can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, so much of our time is just really one-on-one. It is taking apart a concern that a young person has and helping them navigate what that means and what does that look like. I can throw out an example of, I was talking with a team member the other day who has chronic pain. And with this chronic pain, they were really struggling to communicate the needs that they had, having to fill out all these different forms from the doctor, feeling really overwhelmed by the process of that. So it was, okay, taking it down one step at a time. It is, helping them navigate, okay, your doctor, these are the things you need to get done. And then helping them to navigate having that conversation with HR. And what is the proper way to go about that? Okay, so here's how you talk to HR, right? Even as adults in this space, sometimes it can feel like, ooh, how do I tell HR this? But so it's teaching them how to advocate for themselves. It's going up to the space. It's, sending an email to your HR team. Okay, who is the person you reach out? Who's your contact in HR? It's helping them do that email, making sure that it sounds good, it sounds professional, gets across their needs and what they're wanting to have happen in a respectful manner, because the point is to encourage the conversation to reach solutions that work for everybody. And I know for a lot of people, it can feel like, well, it's just easy, right? I just can't do this. I just can't have this happen. And recognizing that, in the workforce, that there are other rules that we have to learn, that we have to process, that we have to navigate. So we really help them make the maze that can feel like the workplace. We really kind of straighten that path out for them.
But in that lesson, even teaching them, walking them through that one example,
Mhm.
there's other comparable or similar situations that could be a personal conflict, or it could be other situations
Mhm.
they're working through. But that's a one-on-one
Yep.
coach, especially because if it's an HR issue, it's probably sensitive, right? So, but
Correct.
it's a one-on-one kind of engagement. So, how do you from my experience of working with Cookie Cart, I
Mhm.
remember they serve, I think today their volume, they serve about 300 youth a year is their target between their Minneapolis and St. Paul locations. But I remember when I was on their board, they just opened up the St. Paul location, and they struggled sometimes getting grants and funding because the quantity of youth that they serve isn't in like the thousands, right? It was when you're if you're looking and reviewing grants, and you're looking at, this organization serves 5,000, they serve 100,000 meals, or they serve whatever, and then you run across a great organization that has one-on-one impact on 300. Sometimes that just the numbers that are being evaluated aren't given the credence and the value that they really have. And so I don't know, can you talk a little bit about that? And Darrell, I'm going to bring that back to you too, because I know you have a perspective on that. So what's your perspective, and or just sharing how I don't know, some of those impacts and the value of that one-on-one impact?
Mhm. That's a really good point you bring up, because it's not like we have a staggering amount of numbers for young people. We have we worked with over 100 young people so far this year in just my singular program. I will note that. But they are coming consistently. I'm seeing these people, typically 3-4 times in a week that they're coming by, but it's also very much led by them and their journey and what they're needing at that point in time. We are extremely low barrier. So what that means is that they are leading this journey. There's nothing I'm making them have to do to be in that space. It's not like they're required to be and visit me and talk with me 5 times in a week, and so that can skew things too in some ways,
Mhm.
where maybe I'm just having that conversation with them once a month. Um, but the pieces that we don't recognize or don't know, that one interaction could have been the impact that led to them staying even longer. Maybe it was just I saw them one time in the year, maybe. I just got them a pair of shoes. But maybe that's what kept them there working longer. And we collaborate, as I noted before, we meet with their HR team once a month. We collaborate on our data as well. And so they pull information for us, and we've actually been able to show that people that are interacting with our program, even if it's just one time, their employment is lasting twice as long than other
Okay.
young people in the space that are not interacting with us. So it's been really beautiful getting to tell that story with them and noting that we have that direct impact on both bettering the young people that we're serving, but we're also affecting their workforce and saving their costs on training and
Right. Turnover.
turnover
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
the knowledge that you get. And so helping to keep that lasting longer and helping people to find more vital positions, even along the company, and helping people to navigate to positions from where they started up into team lead, supervisor positions, things of that nature. Because we also help them grow in their confidence skills and levels. So it's also not just longevity, it's knowing that people that are working with us, they're seeing that they're moving up in the company as well.
Yeah, I love that. And go and pass it on to Darrell, because Darrell, I know you've got some insights on this. But I think it's sometimes hard. You made a comment earlier, and Darrell, I know you can speak to this as well. Alexie, you made a comment earlier that sometimes the one interaction that you have, so you've got some measurables, like they stay twice as long, and that's great. But that's not just the impact of staying at a job twice as long. If they're doing that, there's so many other ways in which that individual was impacted by the interaction, that in ways that you oftentimes can't measure because it could be years into the future.
We'll never see.
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah. So I think that's a great example of I think there's value in the quantity, but also in the quality and the one-on-one interaction. And Darrell, talk a little bit about that, because I know your program does kind of mentor-mentee pairings and things like that. There's a lot that you do, but you're doing very one-on-one kind of engagement as well. Talk about the impacts you've seen and some of the challenges you've had, or the impact, the long-term impacts you've encountered as well.
The piece that I take out of what your question to Alexie and to us here today about the value of the relationship is when you think about like a mentee mentor relationship, and you talk about someone who shows up, and I have this little thing in my restroom at my office that says, Mother Teresa, it's like one little thing every day, and one little thing matters. So it's the depth of that relationship. It is super important to go serve food, cut down some trees and rake the leaves and make everything look good. And we have people that come over, and that's awesome. I can't go out there. I pick up other people's dog poop in our front yard. I'm like, because they're ticked off because they just let their dog do their thing and leave it. So, but that's but the
Thank you for volunteering for that.
I'm here for you. I'm here for you. Let me know. But it's the depth of that relationship, and trying to turn that person to let them know that someone believes in them, someone trusts in them, someone's there to, like it says in the dictionary, it says a mentor is a wise and trusted friend. And that's what we're trying to find for these young people, a wise and trusted friend that benefits just from that person being a better person, and starting to see the light of that they could be an accountant or a doctor or a lawyer or a pharmacist or whatever they want to be. But if you don't see it, then it's really, really, really difficult to be it. So I need to come inside the walls of the building of the Mayo Clinic and of 3M and Medtronic and all these organizations. Makes a really big difference. And the other piece I tell people a lot, and this is the financial one, it's always, money is important, very, very important. The cost of a young lady or young man lost to a life of crime is $2 million. So just say it costs, I don't know, $5,000 for an employee to have an employee or someone to go through Boulder Options. Is it worth this $5,000 for this $2 million payout? And I've seen it on both sides. One young man went through our program. He's got another brother who's dead, and he's got another brother who's, who has lived a life of crime. We have a young man who's gone through Boulder Options. He's taking care of his family. He's doing his thing. So you can pay me now or you can pay me later.
Yeah, I think that's super impactful as far as, we shared that quantification of cost, because I, like I said, I know I saw that challenge with Cookie Cart. Again, that's only one example of but you're seeing that as far as, knowing that you're having that depth of interaction with youth that can make that level of impact on society. That's amazing. So there's one other thing that you mentioned earlier, that someone made a comment to you about something was unbeknownst to you of something you did a long time ago, and they ran into you.
Oh, you're talking about the gas station. Yesterday.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah,
oh, so I used to play football, and I was still volunteering when I was playing football, and I went to speak at this high school in North Minneapolis. It's a level 5 school, really, really challenging school with a big class. There would be 10 people. So it was a small, so you could keep your eye on like every student. But I used to volunteer and go in there and volunteer with the kids. But this gentleman yesterday, I got to the gas station, I'm pumping gas. He gets out and goes, "Hey, what's up?" And he goes, "Darrell, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Hey man, thanks for coming to speak at my school." And I'm like, he's 42. Yeah, he's 42 years. I'm 56. So I mean, it's been I did not remember him at all. But he said it was impactful that you came. So it's like what we're talking about.
Yeah,
it's a relationship. A little bit that I tried to pour into them at that time was impactful.
Yeah, and you had no idea, right, that happened, and that whatever something you said impacted him, that he remembered however many years later, 20 plus years later.
Something.
Yeah. So I think that's an example. Yeah. So,
yeah.
I think that's an example, though, of there is a difference between going to the depth that you go to and the challenges they face, but also the impact.
People need to know that you care. Once they know that you care, like I have some broadcasting. I do football, and I talk about football a lot. And great coaches, their players know they care. If you know you care, then you're like, I'm willing to listen and figure out what I need to do. And if they don't think you care, then it's kind of like, I do my job and it's convenient, but I'm not really gonna hustle around for you.
Well, and that's part of the foundation of trust, which if you don't trust, you're not going to communicate, you're not going to collaborate, you're not going to work to solve solutions together. So, all right. So I wanted to make sure we had some time if there's questions from the audience, and it could be directed to the entire panel or to a specific person on the panel. So I don't know, we could probably have time for a couple of questions, 2 or 3 questions, if there are any. I'm okay with awkward pauses. But okay, we got here, and then we'll go back there. Al. Yeah, so the question is, I'm curious about what's working in raising money these days. So, to the two of you, I'm guessing, in the nonprofit
world. To us and to me, it's storytelling is really, really important to be able to communicate your story, talking about the depth of relationships, and some people that have gone through your organization they're doing positive things, and then annual dinners are still working. They've changed a little bit. People don't want to sit at the table; they want to move around, and then golf tournaments still work. So, but it's really the person stories, and we're doing more, obviously, social media and video, and trying to capture content of our young people having fun, being successful, and doing those types of things.
Yeah, storytelling has got to be impactful for sure.
Yeah, storytelling is humongous. Being able to connect with people, to make them feel connected to the story and how that can impact them, but also that they see a bit of themselves in that story too. So I agree with everything you already said. And then even noting and adding in, once again, digging into your community. We're actually having a fundraiser with Tommy's Express Car Wash. So if anybody needs their car wash on Saturday, it's right there by Kennedy High School. A portion of the proceeds that day will go to our organization. We also had Perk Up Kitchen, which is located here in Bloomington as well. They had a drag dinner one night and then donated a portion of the proceeds to us as well. So we're just finding getting out there, bringing awareness to our spaces by just being in businesses in the community and having fundraisers through them is a helpful way of not only getting money, but it's just a helpful way of just getting our name out there as well, making more people aware that we exist and that we're here to support the young people in the community.
Now, if you have any thoughts on that or no, I didn't know from your perspective.
I'll have a thought on that.
Yeah,
I think that there is a responsibility for us from the for-profit world to aid these guys in doing this. I think that the more that I dive into this sector, the more you realize that the executive directors, especially the smaller the organization, the lift on fundraising is so exceptionally heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And not that it's hard, but it's time consuming and it takes a lot of work. And what you do best, I would imagine, probably an awesome fundraiser, but is connecting with kids. And so if you have to spend half your time raising funds, it just takes away from the impact that you can have mentoring and being present with the youth that you're serving. And so I think as a responsibility for all of us that work in the business sector, you don't have to, we always say that with our CEO is that he's like, you can't solve every need. We can't help everyone. But if we consistently err on the side of compassion and generosity and pick a gap and just go all in, and the impact that you can see and alleviate some of the stress and the work to seeking funding, and just so you guys can just run and just go with it is really exceptional.
So I'm gonna say one comment, and then Al will go to your question. But so I did some research years ago on this topic, but it was a high level of looking at how many for-profit businesses exist in the country versus how many nonprofit organizations and groups. And of course, you take out hospitals and stuff because they're nonprofit too most of the time. But if every business donated either their time, money, or expertise to a nonprofit, every nonprofit in the country would have 8 to 12 companies donating to them. And that's if every for-profit business just chose one. I'm guessing you work with more than one, right? Sounds like
few.
we work with a few as well. So like, again, I think the impact that we can have as businesses, as for-profits, being able to just encourage our organizations to just choose just at least one,
Yeah.
if not more, just to do what you're great at, to allow them to do what they're great at. So thank you for mentioning that. Al, what's your question?
My question is addressed to, sorry, I don't know your name.
Coralyn?
Coralyn.
Okay. You first told the story, the boss went up and do something good.
Do something.
Going from healing.
Can you repeat the question too?
Second question is,
I didn't hear his question.
Yeah. So the first question is going from what's the process of going from the feeling to discrete action? Is what you're saying, like taking the idea, the concept, the vision to tangible action. Okay, that's question one. Second question.
after you finish, you have some kind of repository.
Oh, yeah, good. A repository of lessons learned, basically. So, sure, yeah, right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I've gotten asked this before, like basically what you're asking is like, how do you get started doing this? Like, we want to do the good thing, but how do you get started? And the interesting thing about it is like when we started this, CEO of our company's like, all right, we can go on the service trip. And I'm like, all right, well, this is great. We got 300 employees, lots to pick from. It didn't even cross my mind that I would have to recruit people to go. And so a lot of it is just chipping away and just starting somewhere in some place. And whether it looks like going to Kentucky and doing this, or even just getting a group of people and doing a Habitat for Humanity build. We do those a lot and they're fantastic. Working at the food shelves or different things. But if you start someplace and start small, those group of people, I guarantee, will have an awesome time. And then we've challenged our early adopters to be ambassadors for this program. So that first team that went out on that very first trip, I said, hey, all right, I need your help to recruit. And so each of them brought me another person, and so it really is, it's us setting the vision, the leadership buy-in, but really it takes a village to get this program going. But once you get it, I have over 100 evaluations of people that have been on these trips, and I have not gotten one negative comment. Every single one had an awesome time, and most of them were like, bring me back as fast as I can. I want to go back. And so it just starts small. And then in terms of duplication, I'm happy to help anybody. That's a little bit what we do with that Insight to Engage on the consulting company that I started, is that just really helping walk along companies that want to do this. And each company looks a little different in what your passion and purpose and where your needs are. But starting someplace with a small group of people will make a lot of impact.
Yeah, appreciate that. Any other? Thank you. Questions? Not. I'm about to do a shameless plug. All right. So on that note, I will say like the mytech.com/grant, we actually are doing something like that. So Mytech started doing a grant work with donating our services to a nonprofit and multiple nonprofits, but we also have invited other businesses to come along the journey. And so I know, Corey, you've done a great job this year with Minnesota. There's 8 other organizations that are also taking our lessons learned to your question. That's what made me think of it actually, is that we've learned this process to kind of help engage and get out into the community and create the opportunity for some grants. It's live right now in Minnesota, and it ends on next Wednesday is the date. But there's multiple different grants that are available. They're on the seats, but there's multiple grants that are available. So I say that because I think that's something that if your organization is passionate about, you can invite people inside or outside your organization to come along the journey with you. That's something that we found has been really impactful and powerful. Even an event like this, like there was just a couple of people that met in a lunch line or a food line, right? In food, and you started sharing ideas, and you decided, hey, let's see if we can do some good together. So I think it can happen in the dipping your toe ways or in cannonball ways. So those are some things that I would definitely suggest. So any final comments from Alexie or Darrell since as we went along? Sure, here you go. Yeah,
I just once again highlighting there's so many different ways to have expertise shared with these nonprofit groups. Like I want to also mention that we also work with the Constellation Fund, which has a program that connects people that are wanting to share their talents and their skills with nonprofits. They work on connecting you with a project that your skills might be best suited for. So they're kind of that middleman for you. So if you already know what you like to do, what you feel you're really strong in, that might be that piece that brings you to another nonprofit, is that kind of work. So yeah, Constellation Fund, they're really cool.
So before you hand it to Darrell, what if you had a recommendation for like what if people wanted to either listening or that are here that might want to engage with the organization, what would be one step they could take or one suggestion you would have as far as reaching out to your team? What would that look like, or what would you recommend?
So noting how like they should reach out to nonprofits,
No,
or
to you specifically, your
how to reach
organization,
out
Oasis for
to me
You.
specifically. Well, our website is always a great place to start, oasisforyouth.org. I also have my card here as well. But that's always a great place. We also pop up on a simple Google search. We're right nearby. And just come on down to our Oak Grove Presbyterian Church. It's right on the corner of Penn and Old Shakopee. So we love having volunteers in our space. So just come on down and say hi to us as well.
All right, that sounds good. So check out that site or give a call. So, all right, Darrell, over to you. Last kind of either wrap up comments, but also I'd love you to finish with, if anybody from here or listening would want to engage with your organization, what would you recommend? How would they do that?
Well, number one, I think the most important thing is, number one, you guys are here today, but it's just getting involved. You have to just show up. If it's at the car wash, or if it's at Boulder Options, or if it's somewhere else, just show up, be present, show that you care, talk to the people there, and they'll find a work with you. You might be building decks, you might be mentoring a young lady or young man, but showing up is, to me, is the most important piece. So I'd say just show up.
Yeah, that's half the battle. What about engaging with your organization? Is there something specific that they really wanted to work with your organization? What would be that next step for them?
Would reach out to us, just like Alexis talking about through the internet. Our phone number. You can reach us and reach me. Pretty straightforward, but we would love to have you think about being a mentor, being a volunteer, supporting the organization financially. Any of those would be extremely appreciated. And we have some fun stuff too. We have an open house every summer that's actually free. And then we have our annual dinner that's kind of the fancy dress up deal. And then we have a golf tournament if you're a golfer. So there's all kinds of entry points.
Yeah.
Yeah. Michelle was there hitting the ball around.
Yeah. All right. That's good. All right. Well, let's give it a hand for our panelists. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. Thank you very much. And Michelle, hand it over to you.
Well, thank you all for joining us today. I really do appreciate it. Thank you to the panelists. So very much appreciate your participation. I do want to do a side call out. Darrell is too humble to admit that he did play football, but he played professional football. So he's amazing. I've known him for a long time. And as he said, different ways I know you can get involved is if it's not you, it's a family member. I know I had my nephew was a mentor for Boulder Options. Like it could span and it kind of mushrooms out where however you can help. Quick plug, please take some cookies. There's plenty. And then please grab yourself a t-shirt too on your way out. But thank you.
Yes, thank you all for coming. We will send a follow-up. If you've seen on the board here some ideas about how you could get involved. So we'll send that out to you as a follow-up. And I'll just put out there, if you have any questions, if you're looking for any ideas, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to help and help guide that. If you're looking to get connected to certain types of nonprofits or you don't even know where to start, we know a bunch of them and we'd be happy to make those connections as well. So thanks again.
Thank you.